Do you see this message on the screen? This appears in almost every single video game released today. It's there so that the lesser fortunate people are warned that they might have issues playing the game. It's a very important message to have. And it is also a warning for this video. Because do you want to know what game doesn't have a warning like that? Top Banana. So what is it exactly? Well, Top Banana is a video game that was released on the Amiga and the Atari ST in 1992. It also got a release later on the Hex CD-ROM called Global Chaos. But what is Hex? Hex was a studio made by a couple people and the DJ duo Cold Cut, and they make very good music, link below. This company was made to find the potential in new media technology such as CD-ROMs, interactive computer video sampling, and portable video projection. So let's see how they did. But let's rewind a bit before talking about the game here. Let's take a look at the box art. The character is pretty cute, kind of generic. It's not really a bad design. It's pretty good for a main character. It's nothing special though. But I want you to remember this character on the box art. She'll be coming up multiple times later. The style of the box art doesn't really look that bad overall. You would assume by looking at it that this is a cute platformer, and it's kind of correct. It is a platformer, I'll give it that at least. But what's this? It's addictively cute as Sonic or Mario?
Come on, just show me what you got. Going fast is cool, going slow is not.
Top Banana also came with a manual, which I cannot find a PDF or picture of anywhere. Luckily, a person named Mr. Scarface of Crystal wrote it all down for us on a website in text format. But that is boring. Who likes reading? Remember how we were talking about Hex earlier? It turns out they actually made a music video which actually summarizes the game. It shows some gameplay in the song along with a render of the main character. The song sounds... wait. That's actually good. That's actually really good. Link in the description because YouTube will kill me. And from this music video, we can find out that the story is about that our planet is under a threat, not from aliens or evil wizards, but from the direct consequences of our own greed and stupidity. For this is a box art that is raw as hell. We are to put an end to that with the power of love. But you know what that means. We got our story, we got some backstory behind the game, so let's start the game. Firstly, the game takes 45 seconds to load whatever this strange cutscene is. When I first played this, I was confused, but I realized when I was making this video that it's actually just a compressed version of the music video that I showed earlier. However, not only does it look horrible, it also sounds horrible. So after we watch a bit, we're able to go to the next screen, which tells us to insert the second disc. I'm really not that familiar with how the Amiga works when it reads discs, but could this thing really only load the intro cutscene with the first disc? That's it? Is there even anything else on the first disc? Just that? Really? Well, whatever. We do what it says, and then it takes another 20 seconds to load. It takes a full minute to load this game, and it's not even done yet. But now it asks us for a password. If you don't know, a bunch of old games back then would have anti-piracy measures, where they would ask you for something in the manual to prove you didn't pirate your game. The most modern thing I can think of would be maybe Metal Gear Solid, where you have to find the codec number on the back of the game. But luckily, this is a pirated version, so anything works.
Don't tell Nintendo.
We get told to kick it to him, and the game starts.
Is it funny yet?
If you couldn't tell by now, I'm scared to look at this. This looks like vomit. I do like the frogs though, so maybe the game will redeem itself.
No.
You might notice how the game is placed in a weird position, or the aspect ratio is off, but there's a reason for that we'll go into later. Excluding that, let's just take a look at it real quick. I honestly think this might be the ugliest platformer, no, the ugliest video game I have ever seen. I thought Is No Good was the worst thing I have ever seen, but that game is a work of art compared to this. This looks like a horror game that I need to beat to exercise it from my computer. Speaking of it being a horror game, I'm not gonna lie, this game unintentionally jump scared me many times. When you beat a level, you have to jump into this face, which makes a sound, and then the level disappeared. The first time that happened, I jumped. There's an enemy you can barely see in this game, and when I got hit by him, I jumped. This game is unintentionally eerie, or maybe it is intentional. I have no idea. But like I was saying, the goal of the game is to beat the level by jumping into the head at the end. All the levels are vertical and you need to climb up them. Kind of like Rainbow Island for the NES, which I've actually never played. Maybe I will sometime. The comparison is just night and day. Or if I were to give a more modern example, maybe something like Doodle Jump, which I will never play.
I hate you.
You collect food on the way to increase your score, and when you run out of lives, you can keep a record of your score. This is like a classic arcade game. But is the game fun?
No.
The concept is very simple, and it can be very replayable. I will give them that. But the way they put it all together makes it not fun. But I just want to mention something before I dig deeper into this. These two are not the same character! Who the hell is this? Like I was saying, there's just so many issues that make this simple concept not fun. First of all, the main character feels like she's constantly on ice. Think of being in an ice level in a Mario game or something where you're constantly sliding around. It's like that. But it's not only that. The buttons you push to control the character are horrible. Z is moved to the left, which is fine. X is moved to the right, which I guess is also fine. But take a guess what the jump button is. Go ahead, take a guess. Time's up. It's the quotation button. What? Why isn't it space or W or any other button that isn't that? Enter is to shoot, by the way. But that's not all. You thought I was done, didn't you? Well, guess what? If you push the jump button, it has a 1 second delay before you actually jump. If you push Z and X, it doesn't, but those have completely different issues. You actually have to hold the Z and X button down for it to actually register. This is different than input delay because you can't just push the button, because if you push it too lightly, nothing will happen and she won't move. You have to hold it down hard, and if you do this, you can run off the edge by accident, which I did many times. So we have established that the main character controls very poorly, but is the level design good?
No.
Getting to the top is such a simple concept, but you mess that up because of how the game works. Let me explain. You can only take 5 hits of damage. Once you get hit 5 times, it's game over. You restart the entire game, which will always be infuriating. If you collect 7 different colored hearts from defeating enemies, you will get 1 health point back. But this is pointless. When you defeat an enemy, there's a chance a heart will spawn. You need to collect 1 of each color, so it will float in the air and constantly change colors, and when you grab it, you'll get that color. However, if you pick it up while it's gray, you lose all your hearts. The gray heart is actually in the music video too, by the way. The map is a mess, and the enemies are everywhere, so you actually getting all the hearts will rarely happen, because the hearts, more likely than not, will fly into an area you can't go to because it's too dangerous or you just can't reach it. But if you're very lucky and you get them all, you just get 1 health point back. You're going to be getting hit a lot in this game. From the enemies, from the things they throw at you, and the stuff you wouldn't even think would damage you, like this bell or this Hitman marker. What even is this? When you jump a certain height. It will always be the same. And the platforms above you sometimes have enemies on them. So you have to constantly watch your head, because if you don't, you will get hit. There are super tight jumps in this game like this one, where no matter what happens, if you jump up, you will get hit. So you have to very tightly strafe around and time it perfectly. I got hit so many times here, but this happens a lot and makes the game infuriating to play. Not only that, but if you get hit, it makes you fall through the floor. This game is horribly punishing. If you couldn't tell by now, this game is hard. I spent a good couple hours just beating the first 2 worlds, being forced to listen to the game. You would think because the people behind this made really good music and that this game would sound good, but take a listen. But that's pretty much the game. We've gone through how it works, so let's talk about the worlds. Could the design of the other worlds be any better?
Do I even need to say it?
As previously mentioned, this game is hard. I was only able to get to the intro of World 2, and I spent my entire afternoon doing this, which is probably the worst moment of my life. This game is way too hard to beat, and I simply don't have the time for it. There are even more mechanics coming up, that make the game even harder to play than it already is. But, as I always do, I will try to explore the game as much as I can, and this game does have a level select code I will be using for the last two. Each world actually has some lore in the manual, so let's take a look at this. The first world is a rainforest. We will learn many skills here to help us on our adventure. Chainsaws, bulldozers have only one purpose: destruction. Love will be effective against them, but not against some of their nastier friends, which I don't actually think is true. I'm pretty sure I've beaten every single enemy on this world with hearts. Speaking of the enemies, there's a major issue I have with them. Sometimes when you shoot them, they disappear, which is correct. That's how it's supposed to be. But sometimes when you shoot them, they turn into a mini version of themselves.
What's the big idea?
This is horrible because if you think you killed them, you would just continue walking forward. But nope, they're still alive and they damage you. So now you constantly have to shoot every enemy twice just in case they turn mini, which is very annoying. The manual also tells me to learn which fruits will help me and which ones will poison me. About 80% of everything you can collect does in fact increase your score. That's all they do. The enemies sometimes drop weird items, which I'm not actually sure what some of these do, and they also drop hearts, of course, which helps, but everything else they drop powers you down, and it powers you down a lot. The mushroom reverses your controls. Not horrible, but it's still annoying. But here's another example. This star. You would assume that it's something good for you, but when you grab it, it makes the screen move. This is sickening. Why did they do this? Not to mention there's a purple star that increases your score. These power down items drop a lot, so you mostly get punished for beating enemies. The only way these power downs stop is if you get another power up or a heart, or you get hit. While all this is happening, you're also on a timer with the water slowly rising. If the water hits you, you take a point of damage and the water goes back down. This game makes you be patient, but it also punishes you for being patient. It forces you to constantly rush, even when you've barely learned the game. And this isn't just for this level. This water is on every single one. This last section has these terrifying heads. I don't understand. Why is this in your game? To my surprise, there's an actual boss for this area, though all it is a giant head that just goes in a pattern around in a circle. You just have to shoot him 3 times or maybe a couple times and he's down. This is the only boss I actually get to fight against, but there's a good reason for that coming up very quickly. World 2 is the Metal City, and it looks even worse. According to the manual, the city is decaying, swarming with mutated metal machines which patrol the street, which is flooded with polluted water. I think they could have just wrote here that it just looks like shit. So remember how I said I could only make it up to one boss? The plan was for me to get to this world and then be done, but I thought to myself, no, I must push on for the viewers. I must show them as much as I can. But then this happens. The game inverts its color for certain parts of the level as a mechanic. Why did they do this? When I said the game looked bad before, yes, it looked horrible, and for some people, it's difficult to look at. For me, it was kind of difficult to look at, but I could still play it. But this physically hurts me to look at. I cannot play this. This is the first game in history I physically get ill from looking at. But don't worry, I have the power of Google on my side and I can look up things. A YouTuber named T uploaded all the sprites from this game. I don't think they use YouTube anymore though. But to put it short, the boss of this world is a giant robot.
I have my eyes on you.
Let's start World 3, the Temple. It is decaying and crumbling and we need to stop it. That's really all it says. I kind of miss the extremely aggressive anti-corporation writing already. It had its charm. But as the manual says, we need to prove ourselves, so let's do this. And this looks even worse. How is it looking worse over time? In this world, there are platforms that crumble below your feet a lot here, which is very annoying. There are also some jumps that I feel you need to glitch yourself to make, and the developers intended you to glitch the game and do them that way. And I don't really know how to do it, and I don't really want to learn how to do it, which is another reason why I did not complete the game. You cannot expect a player to learn a glitch to progress through the game. From my understanding, when you see a moving platform, sometimes you can stand on it normally, but there is a small chance that when you land on it, you will be slightly higher than the platform. This allows you to jump a bit higher, which allows you to get to the next area, which should not be a thing. The boss of this area is this weird thing. I have no clue what this is. Like the last two, this one just flies around in a pattern and you shoot it. Anyway, the game goes to inverted again and I start crying. The final world, Mindspace. Just read the manual yourself. How does this relate to saving the planet from environmental damage big corporations are causing? What happened to the game I loved? Anyway, this looks even worse. Are you kidding me? This is disgusting to look at. This is some gross meat level. Like, what even is this? I honestly can't even make out what the background is supposed to be anymore. This is just straight up horror at this point. These happy clown faces are just so eerie as well. They're also really annoying because they lock into you at Mach speed. And guess what? Inversion again. The final boss is a weird rainbow thing that's the same as the rest. It moves in a pattern, you shoot it, the game is beat, yeah, who cares? When you beat the game, you just get a picture of this person made out of balls while the game over sound plays, which is just someone laughing at you. While looking up more stuff for this game, I found out something. This was also released on something called the Acorn Archimedes. In fact, it actually came out first on this thing. There's also one major difference between the versions. The last level on the Archimedes looks like this. It uses the same tile set as the temple level, whereas the Amiga version gives it a brand new one. And honestly, they probably shouldn't have given it a new one, like look at this. Also, look at these instructions. To minimize the risk of viral infection, turn your computer off for 30 seconds before inserting the top banana disk 1. If you are using a joystick, connect it to port 2. Excuse me? But that was the whole game. You might have to wash your hands after this one. But unfortunately, we're not done, because believe it or not, I cannot believe I'm saying this, there are some positives. On the box art, there are two key points here that I want to take a note of. Firstly, editable sprites. The graphics in this game are like that for a reason, actually, believe it or not. All the graphics in the game are just pictures taken from TV or real life. They just put them in the game with the idea that the player will be able to edit them. I'm unable to do this as I'm not tech savvy with the Amiga and I'm not sure how to access it, but if you are, it's apparently really easy to do. It's kind of like a sprite editor, which is really cool. You can make the game potentially look good, but you can't change the levels. So the game is still horrible. And the base game itself did not need to look like this for you to do that, but it's still neat you can edit the sprites. The other point is that this box was made from recycled packaging, which is probably the best point I can give this game. If you've been paying attention, the game is very pro-environmentalism, and they nailed that part to a T. Everything that comes in the box, even the box itself, is made out of recyclable material as best as it can be, which is also why I'm recycling jokes. But unfortunately, even with those two positives, the game still sucks. But that begs the question, is this the worst platformer ever made? Normally, at this part of the video in this series of worst platformer ever made, I try and share the average price it goes for online. But there are none online. Probably because everyone did what the game told it to after they launched it. They threw it in the recycling. And I also typically use background music from the games I play for this video as filler, but there's barely any music and the sounds in this are horrible. So I can't use anything from this game, so I have to use something from a good game. This is the worst platformer I have ever played. I have not only ever been this disgusted by a video game before, but I have never been more happy to wipe a game from my computer's hard drive in my entire life. And remember, recycle, reuse, and never play this game.